This is section 7.3, and we are going to do a little more factoring today. And this is where we're going to find that this a term in front of the x squared is not going to be a GCF. It is coming out. Now, your book talks about trial and error. Well, believe it or not, we're kind of narrowing down the trial and error choices by taking that A times C factor. Rather than guess, we have a system. We're going to use it. Also, we're going to introduce you to something called substitution. Now, this method is going to require just exactly what it says, substitute. We're going to make life a little easier for you by factoring some of these giant polynomials. But some of you are going to find that substitution is going to take a little more work, but it's going to be a lot easier in the end. Okay, remember our wonderful thing? AX squared plus or minus the blank. We've got a circle, a blank, and a plus or minus. Now, we're going to be using this A term and C term, and we're going to do just like we did before, except that A is no longer 1, and that A is not a GCF. Okay? And I should write, and the A is not a GCF, which is what some of you are going to try and do. It's not a greatest common factor. So therefore, let's see here, I'll make this a little bigger. Okay. And A is not a greatest common factor. In the last section, it could be, and it was. But here, that's what makes these trinomials a little different. Now, I added this slide to the previous section because I found that it was easier to show you than to give you these steps, but I did include it in the PowerPoint in section 7.2. And you're going to see that this is exactly what we did. We're going to set up the grouping, which is the two blanks. We're going to find the sign that goes inside the circle. And then we're going to take the A term and the C term and multiply them together. Then we're going to find all of the factors that make the A and the C. Now remember, if the signs are the same, okay, we are adding. Okay. If the blanks have the same sign, we're going to add. Okay. If the blanks have the same sign, we're going to add. If the blanks have different signs, we're going to be subtracting, but we're going to put the larger number on the blank that matches the middle term. And then we're going to group, just like we've been doing from the beginning of this chapter. And remember, you can always check these because factoring is the opposite of foiling. So if you foil your answer and don't get what we started with, then you know you've done something wrong. So let's begin. Okay, right away, I notice that I have a 5. Now, notice the word factor. Now, that 5 is odd. Can I divide 32 by 5? No. So that means that that 5 is going to be part of our A term, and our 12 is our C term. Well, this is going to now give me 5r squared plus blank, circle blank, plus 12. Now, with these trinomials, that middle sign is going to be so important. And as we know by now, this is a positive sign, because this first sign times this sign has got to give us the positive sign in front of 12. Now, just as we did before, we're going to take A and multiply by C. Well, 5 times 12 is 60. Okay. Now, this may require a little more work on your part. This is going to be 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, 6 and 10. This is what you need to think. Now, some of you could have already said, okay, I'm looking for one of these 6 sets of factors to add to 32. Do you see that's the one in the middle? Right there, the 2 and the 30. That means this is 2r, this is 30r. Now, could I have put 30 in the first blank? Sure. But when the signs are the same, it doesn't matter where you put those two numbers. And then we group. We're going to take an r out. That will give me 5r plus 2 plus, okay, now this is going to give me 6 greatest common factor. And the reason is when I divide 30r by 6, I better get 5r and I better get 12. These two parentheses must be the same. So you kind of have a hint from the first parentheses what that GCF for the last two terms are going to be. Use it if you need it, because now my binomial, which is 5r plus 2, comes first, but then my second parentheses is going to be r plus 6. Now, if I take what's in the red box and I FOIL it, it better give me what I started with. Foiling is the opposite. Remember, if I want to FOIL, I better get what I started with. And sure enough, I will. Okay? But this is how we do it. It works every time, and especially for these in section 7.3, they are the best way to FOIL. Now, do I need to write all 6 of these? No. The minute I saw 2 and 32 and knew that the 2 blanks that I got to add to make 32, I could have stopped there. I know what goes on the blanks. But sometimes you got to think of them all. Okay. And I will tell you right now that sometimes the numbers are going to be big. Can't help you with that. That's the way foiling is. And factoring is big numbers. Okay, let's go here. Okay, right away, I have a 6. Now, is that 6 going to divide into 13? No. So there is no greatest common factor here. This 6 up here is my A, and the 6 way back there is my C. And now I'm going to set it up. It's 6z squared minus blank, circle blank, plus 6. Well, you got to find out what's in the middle, that circle. And hopefully you've learned that that's got to be a negative sign, because negative times negative is going to give me a positive. That's how I get that middle sign. And that 2 negatives means I'm adding the factors that are going to give me A times C, which is 36. Now remember, I want 13, and I'm adding to get 13. This is 1 and 36. I have 2 and 18. I have 3 and 12. I have 4 and 9. I have 6 and 6. Now, I'm adding to get 13. 4 and 9. 4z, 9z. I'm adding to get 13. Well, this is going to give me a 2z. This is 3z minus 2. Now remember, I need a 3z in the parentheses that's following. Well, that means I'm dividing over here by a negative 3 GCF, which is 3z minus 2. Do you notice that my 2 parentheses have got to be the same? Which gives me the answer of 3z minus 2. These were the same, but what's left is 2z minus 3. This is my answer factor. I took a trinomial and I made it into 2 binomials. Let's try again. Okay. 16. Okay. Well, I can't divide by 16. So that means there's no GCF. But 16 is my A. Now be careful. Over here, my C is 1 in front of that B squared. And again, remember, I got 2 letters here. This will be 16A squared plus blank, circle blank, minus B squared. Now, if you want to write the 1 here, be my guest. But if not, that's okay. You should know there's a 1 there. Now I'm taking A times C, which is going to give me 16. Okay, but what goes in this blank? Better be negative, because a positive times a negative is giving me a negative sign. That's how I find that middle sign. Well, the factors of 16 are 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. But remember, this is a positive, this is a negative. I'm subtracting, which is 2 and 8. Now, look at this 6. 6 is positive. That means 8AB has to sit here. 2AB has got to sit there. The larger factor goes with the fact that I have a positive number in the middle. Well, this is going to give me 8A. This is 2A plus B minus B. Now remember, this becomes 2A plus B because I'm dividing by a negative 1B. These two are the same. 2A plus B. And what goes in my second parentheses? It's what's in front. 8A minus B. And again, if I FOIL, I'm going to get that when I finish. I'm going backwards. Okay? Okay. Now, this one you got to be real careful with. See this 6? I got a 9. I got a 42. Okay. Now, I agree that 6 will not divide into 9. But remember, 6 also is 2 times 3. If I divide each of these terms by 3, I have a GCF. I've got to take it out, which means this is 3, and now I have the brackets. This is 2p squared minus 3p minus 14. There is a GCF. The 6 doesn't go into 9, but do I have factors of 6 that will go into 9 and 42? The answer is yes. GCF. Now, this is what I'm factoring. This is my A. This is my C. So I have 3. Now this is 2p squared minus blank, circle blank, minus 14. Okay. Hopefully you know this is positive. Now, I'm looking for a negative, and since my signs are different, I'm subtracting, but I'm taking A times C, which is 28. I've taken the 3 out, so I'm using 2 and 14 to give me 28. Well, this is 1 and 28, 2 and 14, and I have a 4 and a 7. 4 and 7, subtract to give me 3. But remember, the 7p must sit on the first blank. Now, working inside, I'm going to take out a p. This gives me 2p minus 7 plus 2p minus 7. Do you see that these are the same? But don't forget that 3. That 3 is not going anywhere. What I'm going to put here is 2p minus 7. And then what goes behind is p plus 2. This is my answer. Now, this one is a 5. Well, this one does not have a greatest common factor. Okay. Now, they may talk about doing this by trial and error, but we're doing it by trial and error. Instead of guessing, we have a system, and we're doing it step by step. Well, this will give me 5t squared plus blank, circle blank, plus 6. A is 5, and C, yep, a little here, C is 6. Well, what goes in the middle here? Well, hopefully now you've become a pro. You know this is a positive sign. Okay, A times C is 30. 5 times 6. Well, 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. Now, some of you would have been able to stop right here. Why? Because I'm adding to get 31. But these are my only 4 choices. This will give me 1t, 30t. Let's factor. I'm taking out a t, and remember, this is going to give me 1. Now remember, I need to get in this parentheses 5t plus 1. That means this has got to be a 6. 6 is my greatest common factor. This is then 5t plus 1, because these are the same. I only write it once. But what's left is this, t plus 6. And again, remember, if I FOIL, I'm going to get what I started with. Okay? Let's try this one. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you the numbers are going to get a little bigger. This is giving me 6r squared plus blank, circle blank, plus 21. Everybody now should know this is a plus. Well, A times C is 6 times 21, which is 126. Okay, as you see, the numbers are getting bigger. Okay. Now, I need to then figure out 2 numbers that multiply to make 126 that are going to give me, in this case, 25 in the middle, because I'm adding to get 25. Well, okay, if I do 1 and 126, I've got 2 and 63, 3 and 42. 4 doesn't work, 5 doesn't work, 6 and 21. Okay. Let's see here. 7 and 18. Doesn't 7 times 18 give me 126? Sure it does. And it also adds to 25. So that means this is 7R, 18R. I have to find this set of factors of 126 that add. Well, now, once I've got those, life's easy. This is R, 6R plus 7. Now remember, I want to get 6R plus 7. 3 is my greatest common factor. Use what I have here to help me because I have to get the same thing in this parentheses and in this parentheses, which means I have R plus 3 here. This is my answer. Okay. Now, I got a 2 here. Well, I can't divide. There is no greatest common factor here. So this becomes 2m squared minus blank, circle blank, plus 20. The 2 is my A, the 20 is my C. So A times C is 40. Now, hopefully you now know this is a negative sign because negative times negative gives me positive. Now think about it. How am I going to add to get 13? Well, if you're quick, you know that 5 times 8 is factors of 40. I don't have to run through the whole gambit of 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10. I can recognize what two numbers they are. And I'm going to put 5m, 8m. I'm going to divide by m, 2m minus 5. Now remember, I want 2m minus 5, which is going to be a negative 4. I'm using what's here because I know it's got to be here. And then I get 2m minus 5. And what's left is m and negative 4. Okay. 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 Now this is a little interesting because we have 6n squared minus blank, circle blank, minus 6. This 6 is my A. This is my C. And hopefully you now know this has got to be a positive sign. Now, I want a negative 5 made out of those two blanks. Well, A times C is 36. Now, as you get good with factoring, you should be able to automatically think of the factors that make 36, but subtract to get 5. Hopefully you know it's 4 and 9. And remember, this 9 has got to sit here because 5 is negative. You got to find the combination of 36. Now, I could have done 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. But if I can think about it right away, Saves me a little time. And that's what happens when you get real good with factoring. You can look and know what factors of A and C subtract because the signs of the two blanks are telling me. Now this is going to give me 3, 2m minus 3. Now remember, I have a plus here, but I've got to get 2m minus 3. There's my 2. These two parentheses have got to be the same, which is giving me 2m minus 3. And then, ooh, I forgot the m here. Thank you. 3m plus 2. This is my answer. Okay. Now, GCF of 3. The smallest number is 18, but 18 has a lot of factors. Now, 2 is not going to work because I have a 21, but 3 is working, which means that 3 is going in front of a bracket, which is 6k squared plus 7, oh, that should be a k. 7k minus 10. Okay. Well, this is my A term. This is my C term. This 3 is out in front. This is 6k squared plus blank, circle blank, minus 10. And by now, you should know that this is a minus sign. Okay, A times C is 60. Okay, these two signs are different. I want to subtract to get a positive 7. Well, hopefully you recognize that 5 times 12, which are factors of 60, can subtract to get 7. Now remember, the 12 must go here. The 5 must go there. Because the two blanks have got to give me a positive 7. Well, this gives me 6k, which is k plus 2. Now remember, I want a k plus 2 here, which means I'm dividing out by negative 5. Now don't forget this 3. These have got to be the same. And what's left goes here. That's my answer. Okay. Well, now we're getting a little better. No GCF here, but I do have a 4r squared plus blank, circle blank, plus 18. By now, you should know that's a positive. Okay, 4 is my A, 18 is my C. A times C is going to give me 72. Now, if you know your times tables really well, you know that 8 times 9 is 72, but 8 times 8 plus 9 gives me 17. This is 8R. This is 9R. This is 4R. R plus 2 plus, now remember, I want an R plus 2 here. That means I'm dividing by the greatest common factor of 9. These two parentheses must be the same, leaving me with the 4R and the positive 9. This is my answer. Now, this is where you've got to watch out for the negative. This problem has a GCF of -1. You can't factor this with the negative in front of the 4. So this is going to become -1, and this is 4h squared minus h minus 18. The -1 must always come out now. So therefore, we have 4h squared minus blank, circle blank, minus 18. The 4 is my A, and the 18 is my C. So A times C is going to give me, again, 72. Now this time, remember, this has got to be a plus. And again, 8 and 9. 8 and 9 multiply to give me 72. But because the blanks are different, we're subtracting. And remember, 9 must sit with the negative, because I have a negative here in front of h. Well, this will give me h, 4h minus 9 plus, now remember, I need a 4h minus 9 in this second blank. That means there's a 2 here. Now, do not forget this -1. This is 4h minus 9, and then I have this h and a positive 2. This is my answer, and do not lose that -1. We have a greatest common factor. You can't factor if the first term is negative. You've got to take out the -1. I got one more to try. Okay, this is 5z squared minus blank, circle blank, minus 12. Okay, we're now getting good at this. You should know that that's a positive sign in the circle. The 5 is my A, the 12 is my C. A times C is 60. But notice, I want 28 there. But because these signs are different, I'm subtracting. Well, hopefully you know that 2 and 30 multiply to give me 60, but subtract to give me 28. And don't forget, 30z must sit with that negative because 28 is negative. The signs are different, so we are subtracting. This will give me 5z, z minus 6. Now remember, I want z minus 6 over here, which means these two terms have a 2 as a greatest common factor. These parentheses must be the same. And what's the second one? Is 5z plus 2. This is my answer. Now, I've done a lot of combinations for you. The key is you got to get the sign and the circle correct, because that is how you determine what two numbers that multiply to make A and C 60, or any number, am I adding them or am I subtracting them? That's the key. Now, I know you're going to laugh at me, but you should be able, as time goes along, to look at this trinomial and immediately write the red box. You may say, well, how is that going to happen? Practice. And I'm going to advise you, if you are planning to take 482, you got to get good at factoring. Lots and lots of factoring. Okay, we only have a couple more slides, but this is where that substitution comes in. And this is where you may find it a little difficult at the beginning, but it does, in this case, happen to be real important. Okay. Now, let me show you what I mean. This is saying if a binomial term appears in a trinomial as a term, we're going to do something called substitute. And we're going to take that binomial and give it a new letter, a new single variable. And then we're going to factor. When we get done, we're going to replace the new variable with the binomial in the end. And that's going to be our final factors. Now, it's easier to show you than it is to tell you. And here is the first thing you see. Do you see that I have a binomial x plus 2 behind the number 5? And behind the 17, I have an x plus 2. I'm going to pick one other letter from the alphabet, and I'm going to say it's A. And I'm going to say it represents x plus 2. So that means now I'm going to write this as 5a squared plus 17a plus 6. This is what I do with substitution. I replace the binomial with a new variable. Well, I have x, so there's 25 other letters in the alphabet. I just got to pick one. I choose A. Can you choose B or C or D? Yes. You have 25 choices. Well, now I'm going to factor it. This is 5a squared plus blank, circle blank, plus 6. Now, we should be real good at this and know that this is a plus. My 5 is my A term. My 6 is my C. So 5 times 6 is 30. Now, I want to get 17 by adding, because I have two positives. Do you know that 2 times 15 is what I'm looking for? I can think of all of the factors of 30. 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. But the two that add to 17 is 2 and 15. So I'm going to put 2a here. I'm going to put 15 here. Well, this is going to give me a 5a plus 2 plus, now remember, got to put an a here. I've got to have a 5a plus 2 here. That means this is a 3. Now this is where it comes in to 5a plus 2, and then I have a plus 3. But this is where I've got to finish it, because this problem had x's. This has a's. Now I'm going to go to the next slide. I just got 5a plus 2, and I got a plus 3. But remember that little substitution I did at the top? I said a was equal to x plus 2. Will you see where these a's are? I've got to go back and substitute it, which means here's my 5, but I've got to put x plus 2 for that a. And over here, I've got to put x plus 2 for the a. I've got to go back and finish this, because the original problem had x's. I've got to come up with x's. Well, you got to be careful right here. This is giving me 5x plus 10. I can say plus 10, but I didn't write it. Plus 2. That means that my factor is 5x plus 12. And this one is going to give me x plus 5. This is my answer. I've got to go back to the x's. Okay. Okay. Now, I'm going to do it one more time. Okay. Now, it's going to tell you to use substitution right away. Do you see I have c minus 9? Pick a letter. Well, let's take x is equal to c minus 9. This is my substitution. I'm going to rewrite 3x squared plus 14x plus 16. Okay, let's factor. 3x squared plus blank, circle blank, plus 16. I should be getting really good at knowing what sign goes in that circle. My 3 is A, my C is 16. Well, A times C is 48. I need 14. Well, hopefully you know 6 times 8 gives me 48, but it also adds to 14. 48 has a lot of factors. What set of factors adds? And notice it adds because I have 2 pluses here. That's the beautiful part about this method. I have 2 pluses. I know what the numbers have to do to make those middle terms. Well, now this is 3x, and this is x plus 2, plus 8x plus 2. Remember, these 2 blanks have got to be the same. Now, I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay. And I'm going to write x plus 2, and I have 3x plus 8. But if you remember, I said that x was equal to c minus 9. This x and this x, I've got to go back and do a substitution, which means this is c minus 9 plus 2. And be careful here. This is 3 times c minus 9 plus 8. Well, these 2 are going to give me c minus 7. Well, this gives me 3c minus 27 plus 8, or 3c minus 19. This is my answer with substitution. Okay. Now, I will let you know that Alex has had a couple of mistakes for the homework problems. If you have a question with them, especially with the substitution ones, let me know, because we already know that there's been a couple mistakes found in Alex for section 7.3, but hopefully they fixed them all. With that said, yay, we're finished. I hope you enjoy this factoring, and I will see you again.